this video we are going to create a function that will handle the computer choices and will decide who is the winner, basically. So let's create a function named play. So what will this function do? As soon as the user selects a weapon, the play function is going to take that user choice and compare it with the computer's choice. Then it will decide the outcome of the matchup, and it will update the scores and the descriptions and the results. Let's go ahead and add an input in our function, which will be choice, and we're going to call it as soon as the user clicks any weapon, basically. So when the user clicks rock, we're going to do play with input R. Let's remove this comment. When the user picks paper, we're going to do play P. And when the user picks scissors, we're going to do play S. So we are also going to need a computer choice. Let's do choice 2. Will be generate choice. Now let's add these variables together in the matchup variable. Let's do choice plus choice 2. Let's print that so that you can see how it looks. Let's refresh the page and click any choice. Oh. So the problem right here is this: we missed the parentheses. Let's refresh again. Okay, as you can see, we get different matchups. Let's click paper. The computer also clicked paper, so the matchup is PP. When we use scissors, for example, the computer again picked paper, so the matchup is SP. If we click rock, for some reason the computer keeps picking paper, but I don't think that's a problem. Okay, so you get the idea. We generate this kind of 2-letter strings that we're going to use to decide who is the winner of a matchup. So inside our play function, let's create another switch case, and according to the matchup we're going to decide what we're going to do. So in case, let's first group all the win cases, the lose cases and the draw cases. Let's start with the draw cases, which are the easier one. If the matchup is RR, PP or SS, it means to have a draw. So we're going to update the result header to it's a draw. And we're going to do nothing with the user score or the computer score because nobody wins, so the score remains the same. We are also going to break here. I will explain this how it works later. Let's now list the winning matchups. which are if we pick a rock and the computer picks scissors, we win. If we pick paper and the computer picks rock, we also win. And if we pick scissors and the computer picks paper, we win. So let's copy this code right here. We have 3 more cases, which are the loose cases basically, which are the complete opposite from this ones. So if we now pick rock and the computer picks paper, we lose. If we pick scissors and the computer picks rock, we lose. And if we pick paper and the computer picks scissors, we also lose. So let's update the results here. Okay, let's go back to our document. Let's say I want to choose scissors. Okay, computer also picked scissors. You can also see the matchup right here. So it's a draw. Let's now do rock. Wow. Computer also picked rock. Let's try paper. Here we go. We picked paper. Computer picked scissors. So we lost the round. As you can see, the score is still the same, but we're going to update it in a minute. Let's try to win a round now. Okay, I'm going to pick a rock until I win. Okay, finally he picked scissors, so we won this round. Let's get back to our code and try to update the score. So if it's a draw, there's nothing to do here. If it's a win, we're going to do user score plus plus. This basically increases the variable right here by 1. Oh, I also forgot to explain the break statements. So if we don't use the break statement here, basically it's going to continue from here and also run this code. So when we say that it's a draw, we want to leave the switch case basically. We're going to go here. So if we don't do that, we're going to do, if it's a draw, it's also going to be a win and a lose, because it will enter this code and this code as well. Let's also update the computer score when the computer wins, and let's try to run now. What do you think will happen? Obviously the score doesn't update yet, because as we said in the start of the previous video, we need to update the HTML tags content. So when we finish with the matchup, let's call a function that we haven't yet created, the update score function. What this function will do is basically, if any of this has changed, so if the user score is different from the contents of the user score row, we're going to update it. So let's declare a function right here, user score. It doesn't need any arguments. Oh, we spelled it right here. It's update score. So we're going to do we're not going to do an if statement, we're just going to update the HTMLs. So let's try to do this. Okay, so let's refresh our page and run our program again. That's cool. Okay, as you can see, if we lose the round, the computer gets +1 score. If we win, we get +1 ourselves. If it's a draw, the score remains the same. So we call the update score function each time we have a matchup. So, and we have a matchup each time the player chooses a weapon. So when we choose a weapon, the computer also chooses a weapon. We compare the values and we update the score. We could also use this coder here, but I suggest that you get the habit of using functions as much as you can, because if we need to call this function in another part of the code, it will be easier to edit, debug, and it's generally more clear to write more functions. Okay, let's see what else we can do. Okay, what we're going to do now is, if the player is currently winning, we're going to change the border color of our table to green, but if the computer is winning, we're going to change it to red. If they are in a draw, we're going to leave it as it is. Let's now create an update color function. So this function is going to compare the user score to the computer score. If the user is winning, we're going to set it to green. If the user is losing, red. Else, we're going to set it to gray. So we're going to use an if else statement. So if the user score is bigger than the computer score, let's also add a comment right here. We're going to do, okay, if we go back to our HTML file, we haven't specified an ID to the table, but we can do another thing. We're going to learn about the new function in JavaScript that returns the tag of an element. So let's do table equals document query selector and table. So how this works is, it works exactly like getElementById, but instead of searching for an element by an ID, it uses the same principles like CSS. So if you want to search for an ID, you use the hashtag and the name. If you want to search for a class, you use the dot and the class name after that. And if you want to search for an element like this, you just do it like we did right here. So this function should return us the table object in this variable. If we get back to our code, let's try to, okay, table. we can update the style property, which is its CSS basically. We want to do background or border basically. Equal to, let's go back to our CSS. Okay, so as you can see, our border is 5 pixels solid. We're going to keep it as it is, and we're just going to change the color. So let's do 5 pixel of solid green. I have prepared the green hex value right here, which is okay, so else if if the computer is winning, we're going to do the same, but set the border color to I also forgot some semicolons here. And finally, if we have a draw, so if none of this work, the only case that none of this work is if the user score is equal to the computer score. We're going to set the border of our table to 5 pixels solid, the gray that we used here, this one. Let's get back to our code, to our browser. As you can see, nothing happens yet because we never actually call this function. So whenever we update the score, we can also update the color. We can either do that inside this function or at this point. I'm going to insert it right here. It's much more clear, and because when we finish the matchup, we need to update the score and the color. So let's try that now. Okay, it's draw. Wow. 3 draws in a row. 4 draws. Okay, finally we won the round. As you can see, the border color changed to green. Let's try to let the computer win now. Here we go. And if we manage to go back in a draw, the border also becomes gray. And when we come back from in the score, the border becomes again green. Okay, so as this video is getting a little long, in the next video we are going to also add some interactions to our button, like when the user selects a weapon, we're going to give the user feedback on which weapon he chose. So currently we choose rock, and if we move the mouse away, we don't know which one we choose, only if we deduct from here. But we are going to change the background color of the selected weapon basically, and also set the color for this text according to the result of the fight. So see you in the next video.